Hello and welcome to Link Ahead, the City of Dublin podcast. Well, it's time for a very exciting update as our great city has officially connected some of the residents with next generation fiber technology in our Fiber to Every Home initiative.
Now, you've likely seen construction crews at various spots in town as our partner in all this, altafiber, began construction in April of this year. A few weeks ago, we had our first fiber splice event, so we're off and running.
Yeah, we've officially kicked this off. We had Doug McCullough on here, I think, last year, 2023, when we announced this partnership.
Right.
And to see it coming to fruition is really exciting. And so today, our guest was also a featured guest at that fiber splice event, and rightfully so. Senior Director, Corporate Strategy and Development for altafiber, David Kramer. Welcome to Link Ahead.
Thank you.
So glad to have you here. And at that event just a few weeks ago, it was really exciting, beautiful day. You were there, our mayor and our city manager said, we have the right partner in this, right by our side, making this happen. Now it is happening. So tell us about how excited you are for this.
Working up here in the city of Dublin has been exciting. This is our first non-geographic expansion area. We've been a 150-year-old company in Cincinnati. We know how to do Cincinnati. So we've learned a lot, and I can tell you the city of Dublin has definitely helped us raise our bar.
Why did altafiber want to partner with Dublin for this program for our residents?
I was very excited on day one when I sat in this building and they told me what you guys wanted to do as a community. altafiber, we were looking for partners at that time, and we're still looking for partners, communities that value fiber. We feel like we do fiber better than anybody in the area, the region, probably the country. So we were looking for those partners that valued it, and those are those partnerships that give us the greatest value and, feeling of success. So coming up to Dublin was very obvious, very quick that this was a community that valued what we can provide.
And we have a lot to talk about in terms of the impact of this project and the timeline, but let's start with the why. Dublin City Council wants to be the most connected community in the United States. It's not just a slogan, it's a goal, and you're a huge part of that. So let's just discuss, why is fast, reliable fiber so important?
I've always been a believer of fiber. Post-COVID, everybody woke up and it was like, oh my God, I don't have reliable internet. I don't have good, reliable internet. And in our partnerships and in our experience since 2020, you've got education, whether it's permanent or not, I think it's permanent, some sort of online education and support is going to be there forever. Telehealth. We've all probably had this, situation where, hey, go do telehealth and then we'll schedule an appointment. So I think what we believe is that you have to have access to high quality fiber, high speed internet to allow communities to grow. And I think that's where we view Dublin as a tremendous partner, because they value the same things we do. They're not happy for where things are today. They're looking at their future, their community. And I think all the benefits that fiber and high speed broadband bring to the table, they don't know what that benefit's going to be yet. I've seen it in other communities, much different than Dublin. Rural communities, the letters I've received from children's families, like, our kids can do homework now. I can watch a Netflix movie in under 5 hours without the buffering. So all everybody has their own why,
right?
But it's really different. But up here, it's definitely, I can see the why up here is to have just an elevated community, and what, the city of Dublin has wanted for the community for a long time.
Well, people have said it's not a perk anymore. It really is a necessity for everyday life. And talking about fiber being sort of a future-proof technology.
Yes.
So this is setting us up not just now, but into the future as well.
Yeah, well, and the event on Saturday had the best turnout of people asking us when fiber's available.
Great.
Probably over 100 scans, as we call them, where people gave us their information. And I personally had 6 people I emailed back this morning and said, okay, here's when your fiber's coming to your end of the community.
Oh, that's amazing.
To let them know. And
awesome.
then if they have a fiber available, I was getting them to our stores so they could then go get the service.
Outstanding. So without getting into the weeds, how powerful is this fiber network?
Oh, very powerful. It is we're putting in the latest technology, fiber network. The challenge is putting the fiber in the ground.
Right.
The future is much, much easier, because once we go through the headache of putting the fiber in the ground, all the technology upgrades are in the equipment, either at the homeowner's end or at our end. So while today we are building a 10 gig network for the city of Dublin, altafiber has 25 gig network in our labs testing it. They're working on 50 gig networks, so we will, as a commitment to Dublin, we've made a commitment to basically continue to upgrade our networks as we need to for consumers as the demand increases. Well, so the network's going to be there forever, and it's going to be very powerful.
And I'm glad to hear you say that, because then, people have lived through iterations of things attaching to their house. We had coax, now we have fiber. So like I'm a simple person. Like how do I know this is the thing that's going to take us to the next level?
Your grandkids, if they live in Dublin, nobody will ever be extending a new technology like fiber to their house. They will be replacing the box at the house. We'll be replacing our core equipment at the Expedient Data Center, but that's really what an upgrade will consist of once you go forward. The challenge is getting that fiber in the ground once, and once it's there, it's there for a while. And one of the things, if you're not in the industry, people don't know, there's not an upgrade path to fiber. Nobody's looking at a new technology outside of fiber. There just isn't anything. There's different things you can do in the fiber. One of them is quantum computing we're learning about, but really it's the fiber's there, and nobody's looking at a different way to deliver internet. My old CEO used to say it best: nothing beats light over fiber.
Wow. And so talk about how powerful this is just for the average resident in Dublin.
I think for the average resident, if you're on a legacy technology, you've become accustomed to the things that happen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Once you go to fiber, I live by myself, but I've got 16 connected devices at my house. And I'm not a tech guy. It's just I got my oven, I got my microwave, so I got 16 connected devices. So I think what people will see, and when you get fiber and as fiber becomes more prevalent, industries will adapt. I mean, you can't buy anything today that isn't connectable to the Wi-Fi.
Yeah. Right.
So, I think, people will learn to use it. And I think that's what, we see the most.
Talk about competing technology. So you have, the fibers coming right to your house, but we also have, Wi-Fi or wireless technology. Give us why is one better than the other?
That's a great question. And it's a question, we spend a lot of time talking to people about. You basically have three predominant technologies in the industry today. You've got fiber, which we're putting in Dublin. You've got what I call legacy cable technology, and then you have wireless technology. Everybody believes wireless technology will ultimately one day take over the internet, and that'll be the way they deliver it to the homes. And I can absolutely assure you that that'll never happen, because at the end of every wireless call, there's a piece of fiber. All those towers exist because the fiber's there. Wireless technology does not have the bandwidth to support the same amount of throughput and speeds that fiber can. So fiber will be here forever. Wireless technology will be getting better. It's getting faster. And if you looked at the industry lately, the wireless guys are buying fiber companies now because they need fiber. So, at the end of the day, the fiber is going to be the way to do it. And, there's no technology out there that I see on the foreseeable future, say 50 years, that is going to beat fiber to the home.
So, David, how much will altafiber cost the service?
Well, it really depends on the plan. So we offer plans today from $39.95. I believe that's for our 400 by 400 symmetrical speeds, up to $99.95 for our 1 gig symmetrical speeds. If a customer wants more, we have 2 gig speeds available. We have 6 gig speeds available, all of which are available to Dublin residents today as we speak. And then as technology advances and devices catch up with technology, we'll be offering faster services on the network because it is capable of handling 10 gigs.
Gotcha.
So it's a partnership with the city, and we're all getting through the build together. But then after that, it's altafiber. You guys will decide the packages and work with customers on that. So you've done this in other cities. A couple of questions. What were the challenges, and what did you learn from them? And how did you apply those lessons to Dublin?
I think when you compare Dublin to other communities, and I always find it a challenge comparing communities because I don't like to do that. Permitting is our biggest issue as a whole. If we're going into a community that doesn't value the fiber, doesn't value the technology, permitting is our biggest challenge. We don't have that challenge up here in Dublin because we're working with Dublin as a partner, so permitting has not been our challenge. Permitting is our biggest challenge. The other, honestly, it's the same thing that happened Saturday, is the question I always get is the when.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
I mean, you've got 20,000 residents and they all want it today.
Right.
And, I had to tell some resident today, sorry, you're not going to get it to 26. So, those are kind of the big challenges. The when is the one that's usually the most disappointing to, the average resident.
Okay, let's get to what residents can expect and how they can stay in touch with the whole process. So in what areas has construction begun?
When you look at Dublin, we basically decided to first start construction going north. It's mainly the residential area. That was the preference, and that was the priority we were given from the city of Dublin. So basically, we're going up the western side and the eastern side of the city. Once we get those two routes completed, really later this year in a couple months, we'll start filling in what I call the middle between those two routes. A little bit of activity, well, I'll call south of 270 next year, but most of that activity, since it's more commercial-based, MDUs, that'll occur in 2026. By the end of this year, we'll be about 1/3 of the way done. Well, our goal is to have about 8,000 doors done by the end of this year. Doesn't mean 8,000 residents will be able to get service because there's usually a delay. If the weather holds out and Dublin's willing, we'll continue to work through the winter as best as possible. If we have to shut down to the weather, we'll start back up in April next year. And by April next year, we should be about 16,000 done out of the 22,000 doors we've identified. So most of the residential locations will be done by the end of next year.
Yeah, you guys are making amazing progress. Some neighborhoods have already been through this, but a lot of the residents will still be going through the process, so it's kind of worth going through the phases. And I know because I've been very involved with the communications, working with your team on that. So about 90 days before construction, residents are going to get a mailer from altafiber and the City of Dublin, and then that's followed by a couple of other things.
Yeah, as we built fiber over the last decade, one of the things that has become, key to us is communications. And communication in the City of Dublin has even taken on a more important role. We continue to work with Lindsay and her team, Brian Gable and the engineering teams to try to figure out what's the best way to communicate with residents. I think we both have learned things that, we really didn't think were going to be value adds in the beginning. We're doing today that we think they're value adds. But, what residents should expect today is about 90 days in advance, they're going to receive an email from us saying, we're going to come your direction. We're coming your way. I think there's a mailer that comes around 60 days that says, hey, we'll be coming here in the next 60 days. When our crews go out, they'll put up a sign in the front of the subdivision. They will go hang door hangers on all the doors. Our contractors will let them know we're coming. So there's 3 or 4 really solid touch points for residents to be notified that we're coming. And then I think, altafiber and the City of Dublin have done an amazing job establishing landing pages and web pages and, the best we can to notify, residents that, that we're coming. And those pages have the important stuff. If you got a problem, who you have to contact and what's the best way to contact them. Hopefully you don't have a problem. Well, I think we're doing a great job not having problems, but if you do, it has all the necessary information to get hold of us and we will, get on top of it.
Yeah, we'll talk about those web pages here in a second, but for everyone listening, if you get a mailer or a door hanger from altafiber, please read it. It's informational because that is one of the lessons that I've learned is people say, oh, I didn't get a notification. I said, oh, you should have gotten a couple of mailers and a door hanger and all that. And I thought those were just ads for altafiber, and they're not. They have QR codes that'll send you to really pertinent information. So if you see something from altafiber, please read it.
Well, okay, so I just walked down the hall before we walked in to record the podcast, and I was like, oh, who are you talking to? I'm like, altafiber. And I'm like, oh, we just got something in the mail. And I was like, great. Did you read it? Yes, we did.
Good.
Outstanding. So, communication is the key with this. So what are the work hours and the days of construction that crews will be out?
Typically, our crews are going to be working from about 8 to 5, 8 to 6, Monday through Saturday. They may work in some areas if they got work open up. They may finish it. I think they're permitted to work till 7 p.m. But typically we're there around 8 a.m. and we'll work to 5 or 6 p.m.
And we did mention that there is an altafiber page during construction where you can look at photos of what to expect, a timeline of what to expect. And you can also call altafiber directly. There's a phone number. You can find that on our website.
So yeah, everybody can visit dublinohiousa.gov/most-connected and you can find a phase map, a work status map. It's all there.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've learned a little bit about underground utilities in a couple of neighborhoods. So, David, can you talk a little bit about utility marking, responsibilities, and then we can get into some of the what ifs, and also people are very inquisitive about utility flags.
When you're doing construction, underground construction in the state of Ohio, you have to call 811, which is the state's one call number. That number notifies all of the utility owners. And I think that's an important term I want to recognize. The utility owners are the ones responsible for marking the utilities.
Sure.
So the utility owners get the notification. Legally, they have 48 hours to mark that utility. Once 48 hours passes, whoever called it in is allowed to dig. We don't do that. we make sure the utility's marked. We have went through the process of knowing what utilities are there. We know about where we think they are. And, once we coordinate with the respective utility owner, and once it's appropriately marked, we'll start digging. The challenge with underground utilities is you guys are in a very mature community. Sure. Do not always have the exact location. So we take every effort to pothole commitment to the city of Dublin to verify the utilities there. So it's really, the utilities owner's responsibility. If something happens to be hit, it's also the utility owner's responsibility to fix it. A lot of times we'll get complaints like, well, altafiber cut my telephone on Friday. It's still not fixed. That's AT&T's problem or somebody else's problem. I can't fix their telephone. I can't fix the gas. I can't fix the cable. So I'm really at their disposal on how quick they get back to a resident. And that really is one of the most frustrating things for us, is because sometimes I've seen it take 2 weeks to get repairs made, depending on where you are, and that resident is out for those 2 weeks. And that's not a good experience for anybody.
Right. And we should say that the utility providers have been really great partners throughout this process. Your team has coordination meetings with the utility providers and utility marking companies. And, nobody wants there to be a disruption, but, it can happen.
Right.
And as we've said, Dublin, the blessing and the curse is all of our utilities are underground. And so the likelihood of hitting something is there. But when something is hit, everyone has been reacting really quickly. And, the problems are usually resolved in a really timely manner. So I think everyone's doing a really good job. And the residents, we thank them for their patience.
Absolutely. Now let's also mention again, your company has been a true partner from the beginning and will continue to be. So you're involved in local events and in our schools. Can you tell our listeners how this has become more than just a city to vendor business transaction?
I think it's who we are in Cincinnati. Everybody says we're everywhere. We support the community. When we went up to the Dayton market, we supported the community. So one of the things we've learned, as one of the strong points of altafiber is we want to become part of the community. We're not just simply coming to build fiber and walk away. We want to become part of the community. And so when, while I manage the partnership aspect, the construction aspect of it, right now we're kind of in a little bit of that transition stage where other individuals at altafiber are getting that community relationship established and getting us into events and sponsorships and all that. So, what you see now will be pale in comparison to what you'll see a year from now and so forth. And we've also made a commitment to Dublin to support, some of their, like things like the Innovation Center. We've made long-term commitments to the community. So it's definitely an area where we're going to become part of the community and stay part of the community. We are hiring technicians as we speak out of Dublin.
All right.
So we're going to have Dublin-based technicians. The first ones are coming out of Cincinnati. So we'll have dedicated. I met our first Dublin sales guy, resident of Dublin. So, as we grow and start expanding the community, we'll start hiring, we'll start developing all the infrastructure. So, it's exciting for us. It's a big move.
So we talked about 2026 being the final year here. Overall, do you look at this initiative in a similar vein to, say, building a new highway? There will be some construction, some detours, a little patience required, but we're talking, smooth sailing on the information superhighway, right?
Yeah, I think the majority of our construction will be done in 2026. But, it's a living, breathing network. It'll never be done.
Sure.
There'll be cable cuts. Somebody's going to cut me eventually. People will want us to install service. So if they order service, now it's a little bit less disruptive because they called me and they want service. We'll go put service in their yard. But it's a living, breathing thing. So we'll have crews up here and we'll be maintaining it. And, we are not a static company. We grow our networks. We continue to upgrade our networks. We have great networks. We have great uptime and very little downtime. So, Dublin will be sort of its own little community up here.
Awesome. So, David, at the end of every episode, we do rapid questions. But much as you know about this massive fiber to home project, we know you're ready for rapid fire. So
Sure.
Let's just jump into it. So you're a proud Cincinnati Bearcat who majored in engineering. Be honest, do you have to dust off or polish up some engineering skills for a project like this?
I went to UC and I got a master's degree in bridge engineering. I'm not a bridge engineer, so nor could I be a bridge engineer today. I think what I bring from my engineering background is the ability to solve problems and how to break a problem down.
That was a really great answer. Yeah. All right. So you actually have 3 degrees from UC, including 2 masters. Of the 3, and looking back on your career, which one has proven to be the most important to your career?
I think today my MBA is the most important part of my career. But I'll be honest with you, if I had to say where I come from, it's really life lessons. It's working 30 years in the industry. The degrees are great, but it's really being part of the industry for 30 years and haven't seen as much as I have over 30 years.
All right, let's also mention your dedication to your own company. Altafiber used to be Cincinnati Bell. So you've been with the company more than 30 years. What's kept you there?
It's a good company. I have enjoyed all 30 years of my company, and I can honestly say I have never looked to leave Cincinnati Bell Altafiber.
That sounds
I've absolutely enjoyed every day I've been at that company, and I think the team I'm on and the people I work with every day and the majority of Altafiber employees and Cincinnati Bell employees will tell you the same thing. It's a good family-based, family-oriented company, and it's been really fun to work with for 30 years.
Besides your phone, do you have a piece of quirky technology you absolutely love and can't go without?
I'm the guy that puts his phone away at 6 p.m.
Nice.
I've got a couple distinctive rings, so I know if a certain person got hold of me. But I'm also when I leave work, I try to disengage from technology. I am usually outside at my house at 6 p.m. doing something in my yard until dark.
Okay, last question. We love that you're spending a good amount of time with us here in Dublin. I jokingly asked you if you bought a house up here yet because I've been seeing so much of you. But have you found some good lunch and dinner spots?
I have. Village Tavern, I believe.
Yeah, Dublin Village Tavern.
Dublin Village Tavern.
They're going to be sponsoring this podcast soon.
I believe that was recommended by somebody on staff when we first came up here. I've been there a handful of times. Had a really nice dinner over the summer at Mezzo, I believe was that pronounced? The Italian restaurant.
Mezzo.
That was very good. So, but unfortunately, most of the time I'm up here. I'm working. And I'm trying to get back to Cincinnati, so I don't really always have the time to do dinner. But Dublin Village Tavern has been really good. They got great food.
Nice.
All right, David, thank you so much for joining us here on Link Ahead.
Thank you.
And to our listeners, thank you as well for taking the time to connect with your city. Tune in next time as we continue to explore the many personalities and experiences that make Dublin a thriving place to live, work, and grow.